We recommend supplying the machine with compressed air. Operating pressure must be equal to 6/7 bar, only after having checked that the oil tank plug is tightened properly. Run a few test cycles to check the operation of the riveting tool. Remove the compressed air supply. Remove the nail container. Loosen and remove the sleeve carrying nozzle using a 27 mm wrench. Loosen the tank plug using a 4 mm hex key and remove it together with the sealing washer. Connect the compressed air supply. Drain the oil. To dispose of exhaust oil, we recommend following the relative international environmental standards. Remove the compressed air supply. Remove the cap from its housing. Loosen the 3/5 screws using a 4 mm hex key. Remove the connector. Remove the O-ring gasket. Release the two pins that fasten the control lever from their seats using a hammer and pin punch. Remove the pin using suitable pliers. Remove the lever. Lock the riveting tool on a clamp and remove the protection bottom ring. Remove the siege ring. Remove the bottom plate. Then, remove the piston unit. Insert the alignment spanner, available on request, between the riveting tool body and the hydraulic cylinder, in order to support and keep the two parts aligned. Using a special locking spanner, available on request, loosen the piston rod guide. Remove the riveting tool body and the pneumatic cylinder from the bench vise, keeping them together with the alignment spanner, then tighten the piston rod guide. Remove the alignment span, and separate the riveting tool body from the pneumatic cylinder. Check that the inner thread of the piston rod guide is in good condition. Remove the gasket kit by first extracting the outer O-ring, followed by the inner O-ring gasket. Using an extractor, remove the balsam and the gasket. Lastly, remove the remaining inner O-ring gasket. Check that all the seats on the piston rod guide connector are in good condition. First, reassemble all the outer and inner O-ring gaskets. Apply panel in special grease too. Insert the gasket as far as it will go, making sure that the sealing lip faces outwards. Lastly, assemble the basil as far as it will go, making sure that the sealing lip faces outwards. Apply panel in special grease too. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets if they are worn out or in case of machine overhaul. Separate the riveting tool body from the pneumatic cylinder. Check the condition of the silencer and the O-ring gasket. Check that the tube is in good condition, secured tightly, and that the inner surface of the cylinder is not grooved. Check the riveting tool body to check the condition of the O-ring gaskets and integrity of the part. Extract the seater and then, using an extractor, push the valve unit outwards and extract it from the machine body. Check all components of the valve unit and replace any worn parts. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets if they are worn out or in case of machine overhaul. When checking the coil, remove the C-ring using special pliers and pull the valve piston out with an extractor. Check the wear of the C-ring seating and the condition of the seal. Also verify that the coil is not damaged or scuffed. Replace all worn out components. Check that the O-ring floats on the piston and the O-ring is not damaged. It is advisable to replace the O-rings when overhauling the tool. Grease the piston with high viscosity grease, then insert it into the coil and block with C-ring. Check the wear of the spring guide plug of the O-rings and replace the damaged parts. Grease the coil, and insert it into spring guide plug together with the spring. Check the valve assembly housing for wear. Then insert and fasten the cap. Using a screwdriver, align the slit, provided on the service cap, with the notch present on the riveting tool body. When mounting the valve assembly, use a special wrench, supplied on request, and proceed as follows: insert the casing and O-ring in alternate positions, the spacer from the side with the highest surface, and finally the washer. Grease and push the valve group inside the body, until end of stroke, and extract the only rear side of the special wrench so as to contain the valve components. Grease the coil group, previously assembled, with spring guide plug and spring. Insert the hull group into the tool body. Last, fasten with suturing. Remove the oil dynamic cylinder from the hand rib. Check the condition of the O-ring gaskets and the respective seats. Replace any worn parts. Unscrew and remove the suction knob. Using pliers, extract the valve. Then, disassemble a plate kit, using a 2.5mm hex key. Using pliers, extract both button units from the hand rib. Check the condition of the hand rib, and that the gasket seats, button housing, and thread are in good condition. Before assembling the button units, check that all O-ring gaskets are in good condition, otherwise replace the part. Apply panel in special grease too, then fit the button units into the respective seats. Making sure that the end stop of each one is flush with its seat. Then, reassemble the plate kit, locking it, using a 2.5mm hex key. Check the status of the valve. In particular the conditions of the O-rings. Replace the worn parts. Apply panel in special grease too, then fit the valve by inserting it into its seat in the hand rib. Check the status of the suction knob. In particular the conditions of the thread and of the O-rings. Replace the worn parts. Apply panel in special grease too. Screw the suction knob till the end of its stroke without forcing it. Use a 30mm wrench to release the front connector, so as to remove the oil dynamic unit, which we will place inside a 14mm pipe wrench. Use an 11mm wrench to release and remove the cone holder. Then, separate the oil dynamic piston from the front connector. Lock the cone holder in the clamp. Then, loosen and remove the clamp holder cone. Remove the spring, clamp opener, and clamps, in this order. Check that the cone holding kit is in good condition, both internally and externally. In particular, the threads and the ejection extension, if damaged or worn, replace the part. Remove the O-ring gasket from the cone holder. Important, always replace the gasket in case of machine overhaul. Mount the O-ring gasket on the cone holder. Use suitable pliers to remove the seizure from the front connector. Then, remove the washer and balsal seal. Now, remove the internal O-ring gasket. Remove the two external O-ring gaskets. Check the conditions of the front connector, in particular, the seats of the internal and external gaskets, and the thread. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets in case of machine overhaul. Mount the external O-ring gaskets starting from the lower one. Mount the internal O-ring gasket and place it in its seat. Make sure that the writing on the balsal seal faces upwards. This way, the sealing lip will face outwards. Then, place it inside the front connector. Mount the washer. Then, lock the seizure-ring using suitable pliers. Remove the seizure-ring from the oil dynamic piston. Remove the following in this exact sequence: stop ring, balsal seal, anti-extrusion ring. Then, turn the component and remove the external O-ring gasket and the internal O-ring gasket. Check the stem roughness, which must be equal to 0.2 RA, to guarantee hydraulic seal. make sure that all components are in good conditions, in particular, the internal and external O-ring gaskets, and the ball cell seal. Important, we recommend replacing all the gaskets in case of machine overhaul. Now, mount the oil dynamic piston. Place the internal O-ring gasket first. Then, mount the external O-ring gasket. Insert the anti-extrusion ring. Ball cell seal. Making sure that the writing on the ball cell seal faces upwards. This way, the sealing lip will face outwards. Now, place the stop ring, making sure that the groove faces the gasket. Lock the seater ring using suitable pliers. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the oil dynamic piston and front connector. Join the two units. Place the piston hexagonal seat on the 14mm pipe wrench, tight end in the clamp. Apply Loctite 270 to the cone holder thread. Screw the cone holder onto the oil dynamic unit. Then, lock it using an 11mm wrench. Check the state of wear of the clamps. Clean or replace them, if required. Make sure that the threads of the clamp holder cone are not damaged, and that the inside is free from scratches, otherwise replace the component. Check the integrity of the clamp opener surfaces, and the state of wear of the spring. Mount the 3 clamps inside the cone. Place the clamp opener inside the spring. Then, place them both inside the cone. Tighten the clamp holder cone onto the cone holder. Lock the clamp holder cone using a 16mm wrench. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the reassembled oil dynamic unit. Check the oil dynamic cylinder, in particular the conditions of the O-ring gasket, the integrity of the external and internal thread, and the jacket surface, which must be equal to 0.2 RAC. In addition, check the thread and seat of the plug, and the rear threads. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the O-ring and inside the cylinder. Now, introduce the previously assembled oil dynamic unit. Tighten the front connector onto the oil dynamic cylinder, locking it using a 30mm wrench. Apply panel in special grease 2 on the O-ring gaskets of the hand grip. Insert the oil dynamic cylinder inside the hand grip unit. Check the pneumatic piston for the surface roughness of the rod, which must be RA 0.2. Check the integrity of the shock absorber. Check that the inner and outer O-ring gaskets are in good condition and correctly housed in their respective seats. Check that the rod screw is secured correctly using Loctite and EG 542. Apply panel in special grease 2 on the O-ring of the machine body, then assemble the unit comprising the hand grip and hydraulic unit onto it. Insert the alignment spanner between the two parts, and keep them together during the assembly stage. Assemble a pneumatic cylinder onto the machine body, making sure the pin and respective seat are coupled correctly. Then insert the rod into the respective seat, and lock the assembled parts with an appropriate vise. Tighten the ring nut and lock it using a spanner, available on request, in order to secure the hydraulic cylinder, machine body hand grip and pneumatic cylinder. Remove the alignment spanner. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the inside the pneumatic cylinder. Use a hammer with a rubber end to place the pneumatic piston inside the riveting tool body. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the bottom plate O-ring gasket, and place it inside the pneumatic cylinder, using a hammer with a rubber end. Lock the C-ring using suitable pliers. Checking the correct position in its seat. Mount the protection bottom ring. And remove the machine from the clamp. Insert the lever unit into the hand grip. Using pliers, fit the pins into the respective seats. Then, using a hammer, gently tap them into place. Apply panel in special grease 2 to the rear connector shaft. Then, place it in the oil dynamic cylinder. Insert the 3M5 screws, and tighten them using a 4mm hex key on, to lock the rear connector to the pneumatic cylinder. Fit the cap in its housing. Supply the machine with compressed air, pressure must be equal to 6 bar. Tighten the supplied bellow container onto the plug seat. With the riveting tool in a vertical position and in pause, press the tensile strength button to allow the riveting tool to run a few cycles until the bellow container stops emitting air bubbles. This condition means that oil refill inside the cylinder is complete. With the riveting tool always in a vertical position and in pause, loosen the bellow container and close it. Replace the washer and check the plug thread. Close the plug, whose torque must be 5 Nm. Press the tensile strength button to allow the riveting tool to run a series of cycles to check the stroke, which must be equal to 20.5 mm. Apply panel in special grease to the cone holder head unit, in particular, the gasket. Check the conditions of the sleeve carrying nozzle, in particular the threads and O-ring gasket. Replace any damaged part. Tighten the sleeve carrying nozzle onto the front connector, locking it using a 27 mm wrench. Mount the nail container. Start the air suction. Introduce a rivet of the same size of the nozzle and check the suction is working properly. Run a few test cycles by tightening a few rivets to check the operation of the riveting tool.